The number hits your account on a Thursday, not a milestone Thursday, not a Thursday you planned around. Just a Thursday like any other, except that when you refresh the screen for the third time to make sure it's real, and you sit there in your kitchen with a mug of coffee going cold and you wait to feel something. You don't. That's the part nobody tells you. You spent 6 years running the spreadsheet in your head before bed. Expense ratios, withdrawal rates, the number that meant free. And now the number is here, sitting in the account, and your chest doesn't open up the way it's supposed to. There's no fireworks. There's just the hum of the refrigerator and a mug going cold and a strange thin quiet where the finish line used to be. You'll learn later that this has a name. Researchers call it the arrival fallacy. The idea that getting the thing you've been chasing produces a burst of relief that fades in days, sometimes hours, and then leaves you exactly where you were, except now with nothing left to chase. You don't know that yet. Right now you just know the coffee's cold and you're 35 and you don't have to go to work tomorrow, and somehow that fact is smaller than you thought it would be. You don't tell anyone. Not yet, not because it's a secret, because you don't know how to say it out loud without it sounding like a lie, or worse, a brag. So you sit on it. A week, then 2. You go to work like normal because you haven't quit yet. That part still has to happen. Has to be scheduled. Has to be a conversation with an actual human being, and you keep finding reasons to put it off. That's the second thing nobody tells you. How close you'll come to not doing it at all. You remember the night, 8 months earlier, when you'd already crossed the number on paper and you still couldn't make yourself write the resignation email. You told yourself it was prudence. 1 more year for a cushion. 1 more year in case the market turns. 1 more year because your title still meant something to people at parties. It wasn't prudence. It was fear wearing a spreadsheet as a costume. The fear of losing the one identity you'd spent a decade building, dressed up as a financial plan. You'd read about it afterward, a term for people exactly like you. The ones who hit the number and can't make themselves stop. Because stopping means finding out who you are without the job title. And that's a harder problem than any of the ones you solved for a paycheck. You almost became one of those people forever. You didn't. You sent the email on a Tuesday, and you deleted your work Slack that night, and you sat in the driveway afterward for a long time. Engine off, same as everyone does, apparently, at the start of something like this. The first person who finds out is your barber. Not because you told him. Because he asked the question everyone asks. The one you'll hear more times in the next year than you heard in the last decade. So what do? And you freeze for half a second too long and he clocks it, and he says, half joking, "Oh, it's like that, huh?" You laugh it off. But driving home you realize you don't have an answer to that question anymore. Not a real one. For 11 years you had a title that did the explaining for you. Now you have silence, and silence makes people uncomfortable. And uncomfortable people fill silence with assumptions. Between other people's assumptions and the truth, you learn fast which one keeps the peace. So you build a version. Consulting. Between things. Taking some time. None of it's a lie exactly. All of it's a wall. You don't build the wall for strangers. You build it for the people closest to you. And that's the part that costs something. Your sister finds the real number by accident. An old brokerage statement left open on your laptop when she borrows it to print a boarding pass. She doesn't say anything for 3 days. Then she calls and she doesn't ask if you're okay. She asks why you never told her. And there's an edge under the question that wasn't there a month ago. I didn't know how, you say. And it's the truest thing you've said out loud about any of this. You didn't know how. Or you didn't want us to know? You don't have a clean answer, because the honest one is both. You'd read somewhere in one of the late-night rabbit holes that filled your last year of working about people who quietly come into money and go to real lengths to keep it invisible. Not out of shame, but because the moment people know, the relationship changes shape whether anyone wants it to or not. You thought that only happened to other people. Now your sister is on the phone asking why her own brother filed her under other people. You don't fix it that call. You don't fix it the next one either. What you learn, slowly, over that year, is that the silence you built to protect the relationship is the exact thing that ends up straining it. Not the money. The not telling. Money finds its way into rooms anyway. It always does. Your college roommate reaches out for the first time in 2 years. Not for coffee. For a quick word about an opportunity. Your cousin starts every conversation by mentioning how expensive everything's gotten these days, glancing at you like the sentence has a second half he's waiting for you to say out loud. Your mother starts a sentence with, "Well, now that you don't have to worry about money," like the freedom is a fact everyone gets to spend, not just you. None of them are wrong to need things. That's not the part that gets you. It's that you can't tell anymore who's calling because they missed you, and who's calling because they did the math. You stop answering some calls. You start rehearsing others before you pick up. And somewhere in there you notice you're spending most of your new, unscheduled, infinite free time managing other people's reaction to your freedom instead of using it. Here's the part that actually breaks you, quietly, on an ordinary Tuesday about 4 months in. It's 11 a.m., and you're standing in a grocery store that is nearly empty. Just you, a few retirees 3 times your age, and a stalker restocking cereal. You realize you haven't spoken a full sentence to another human being in 2 days. Not because you're avoiding anyone, because everyone you know is at work, and the version of the world that exists on a Tuesday at 11 a.m. is a version you never knew existed, and it is very, very quiet. You go home and you don't do anything productive. You don't do anything at all. You sit on the couch until it's dark, and it's not sadness exactly. It's something flatter. An absence of structure so total it starts to feel like an absence of self. The job you hated gave you something you didn't know it was giving you. A shape to your days, and 40 or 50 people who had to talk to you whether they wanted to or not. You'll read eventually that this is not rare, that the thing predicting whether someone struggles after stepping away from work early has less to do with their account balance and everything to do with the size of the room they built around themselves before they left it. You had colleagues. You didn't have friends who weren't also colleagues, and now the colleagues are gone and the friends went with them, and the money that was supposed to buy you a better life bought you. First, a much emptier one. You also notice, without meaning to, that you've stopped moving. The job had you walking to meetings, standing at a desk, pacing on calls. Retirement, it turns out, doesn't come with a body that automatically gets healthier just because the stress is gone. Some days you realize you haven't left the couch since noon, and there's nobody left to notice but you. The turn doesn't come from a big moment. It comes from your father, of all people, who has never once asked you about the number, who you assumed didn't fully understand what had happened, who shows up one Saturday with no reason at all and just sits at your kitchen table for an hour, telling you a pointless story about a guy he used to work with. He doesn't ask what you do now. He doesn't ask what you're going to do with it. He asks if you've eaten. He asks if the gutters are holding up. He treats you exactly like he did the week before the wire cleared, and it's the most peace you've felt in 4 months. You've been quiet, he says, on his way out. Not as an accusation. Just an observation. I don't really know what to say to people anymore, you tell him. Half of them want something. The other half don't know what to say to me either. He thinks about that for a second, hand on the door, then find the ones who never wanted anything before and start there again. It's not profound. It's the kind of thing that sounds like nothing, until you're the one. Standing in the kitchen at 35 with more money than you know what to do with and less connection than you've had since you were 22, so you start over. Small. You call your sister back and you actually tell her the number out loud. And you tell her why you didn't before. And it's an uncomfortable conversation, and it's also the first honest one you've had in a year. You find the old friend from before any of this. The one who never once asked what you do for a living. Because he never cared. And you spend a Tuesday afternoon doing nothing with him. The way you used to when neither of you had anything either. You build a shape to your days on purpose this time. Instead of waiting for one to show up, a standing morning walk, a weekly dinner, a project that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with using your hands. The freedom doesn't get smaller. It gets used differently. You still don't know most days what to say when someone asks what you do. You've stopped needing a clean answer. What you know instead, the thing the spreadsheet never had a line for, is that the money bought you time, and time by itself isn't worth anything. It only becomes worth something the moment you decide, deliberately, who gets to spend it with you. You retired at 35 with no job and, for a while, no one to tell. It turns out that was never the finish line. It was the first problem you had to actually solve.